The moonlit path of the silent grove. Deep within the countryside, far from the crowded markets and dusty roads, there was a grove of trees so thick and silent that even birds avoided nesting there. Travelers knew of a narrow path cutting through the grove, a shortcut that saved half a day's journey. Yet few dared to walk it after dusk. For under the light of the moon, people said, the path revealed companions who should not be there. Some claimed they had walked in alone, but heard footsteps echoing theirs, steady and close behind. Others swore they saw pale figures drifting just beyond the trees, never stepping into the light, yet always keeping pace. A handful whispered of friends who took the shortcut and never arrived at their destination. Their lanterns later found guttering on the roadside, their bodies lost to the darkness. The locals called it the Silent Grove, and the path that cut through it became known as the Moonlit Path, for under moonlight alone its secrets seemed to awaken. In the early years of the Republic, a young merchant named Zhao Wen arrived in the region. He was ambitious, eager to expand his trade routes, and impatient with what he considered rustic superstition. When warned about the grove, he only laughed. "Ghosts cannot harm a man who walks with clear eyes and a steady heart," he declared. But Zhao was also practical. One evening, pressed for time to reach a nearby town before dawn, he chose the moonlit path. The moon was nearly full, spilling silver light through the lattice of branches. He carried a lantern, though its glow seemed strangely dim, as if the darkness of the grove swallowed more than its share. At first, the journey was uneventful. The ground was firm, the air still. Then Zhao noticed something peculiar, the sound of footsteps behind him. He stopped. The sound stopped. He walked again. The echo returned, perfectly matched to his pace. "Who goes there?" he called, raising his lantern. No answer came. Only the silent ranks of trees staring back at him. He told himself it must be the rhythm of his own steps, bouncing from the trees. Yet as he continued, the sound grew louder, heavier, as if more than one set of feet followed him now. The hairs on his neck prickled. He walked faster, then slower, but the unseen company always matched him. Never too close, never far behind. And then he saw them. Faint shapes, pale as mist, gliding between the trees. Their faces were blurred, their outlines unsteady, as though the moonlight itself resisted revealing them. Zhao clenched his jaw and forced his gaze forward, determined not to falter. But when he passed a crooked elm, he saw one of the figures standing just ahead, waiting. Its head tilted slightly, its face hidden in shadow. Slowly, it raised an arm and pointed further down the path. Zhao's lantern flickered violently. He swallowed hard, his heart pounding in his ears. The figure did not move closer, nor speak, but the meaning was clear. Walk on. So he did. And with every step, the grove grew colder, the path stretching longer than it should, as though time itself had slowed to a crawl. The silence was so deep that even his breath seemed too loud. By the time Zhao reached the other side of the grove, the horizon was paling with dawn. He stumbled into the open fields, sweat chilling his back despite the cool air. Behind him, the grove stood dark and still, as if nothing had ever stirred within it. He told himself he would never take that path again. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. Though Zhao Wen swore never to enter the grove again, the memory of that night lingered like a thorn in his mind. He had seen the figure clearly, the raised hand, the silent command to move forward. It had not felt like a threat, but neither like a blessing. It was as if the path itself had a will, guiding him deeper against his own desire. A week later, while trading in the nearby town, Zhao overheard an old farmer muttering about a missing nephew. Took the moonlit path after sundown, the farmer sighed, and by dawn, he was gone. We found only his lantern, still burning, at the edge of the trees. Zhao's heart gave a painful lurch. The story mirrored what he himself had nearly endured. Against his better judgment, he asked quietly, "Do many go missing that way?" The farmer eyed him warily, then lowered his voice. "Many over the years, and all of them vanish without a sound. The path, it does not take the old or the weak. It hungers for the young, the strong. Some say the grove feeds on life itself." That night, Zhao could not sleep. The image of the figure pointing down the path haunted him, stirring a strange mixture of dread and curiosity. Finally, unable to resist, he hired a guide, an elderly woodcutter who knew the outskirts of the grove, and returned to its edge. The woodcutter refused to enter, but he told Zhao a tale before leaving him there. Long ago, he said, the grove had been a battlefield. Soldiers fleeing under the cover of moonlight had been ambushed, slaughtered where they stood. Their blood soaked the roots of the trees, and their bodies were never given burial rites. Since then, their spirits wandered the path, reliving their final march under every full moon. When the old man left, Zhao found himself alone again before the silent wall of trees. He carried no lantern this time, only a small charm blessed by a monk in his childhood. Taking a steadying breath, he stepped once more into the moonlit path. The grove received him in silence, the moon high and white above. At first all was calm. Then the footsteps began again. First one pair, then two, then many, a whole company pacing in rhythm with his own. His skin prickled as the pale shapes appeared around him, more distinct than before. They marched in ragged lines, faces streaked with shadows, eyes hollow, yet burning faintly with a sorrow that pierced his chest. One figure broke away from the line and drifted closer. Zhao could see now that it was not faceless at all. Beneath the blur of moonlight was a young soldier, no older than himself, his features sharp with pain and longing. He lifted his hand, not to point this time, but to press two fingers against his lips, a gesture for silence. Zhao's breath caught. The soldier's gaze was not cruel. It was pleading. The ghost turned and began walking ahead, deeper into the grove. Compelled by something he could not name, Zhao followed. The footsteps of the others hushed until only his own and the soldier's echoed in the night. At last, they reached a clearing, a hollow where the trees bent inward as though shielding a secret. There, half buried in earth and leaves, Zhao saw the remnants of armor, rusted and broken, and bones scattered among the roots. The air grew heavy, and he understood at once. This was where they had fallen, where they had been left to rot without rites, forgotten by the world. The soldier turned back to him, eyes glistening with a sorrow that needed no words. Zhao's throat tightened. He knelt, pressing his forehead to the ground, and whispered, "I understand." That night he gathered offerings, incense, paper money, and food, and returned at dawn with a few of the townsfolk who still respected the old ways. Together, they built a small altar at the edge of the grove, praying for the spirits and honoring the dead who had been denied rest for so long. When the incense smoke curled through the branches, the grove seemed to breathe. The pale figures gathered one last time upon the path, their outlines softening, their hollow eyes lifting with a glimmer of release. One by one, they faded into the morning mist, until only the young soldier remained. He gave Zhao a final look of gratitude before vanishing like dew in sunlight. From that day forward, the moonlit path was silent once more. Silent not with menace, but with peace. Travelers began to cross it safely, the shortcut reclaimed from its haunting. Yet Zhao never forgot the soldier's gaze, nor the echo of countless footsteps in the night. And on rare evenings, when the moon was full and silver light spilled across the earth, Zhao would pause at the grove's edge. If he listened very carefully, he thought he could still hear it. Not the march of the restless dead, but the faintest whisper of thanks carried on the wind.